feeling lonely at sometimes. To anybody joining the military, you're going to get thrown a curveball one or two times. I was in a lot of debt. How did I get myself here? So I started looking into ways to earn additional revenue. 4 hours, I would have downtime. They let us bring our personal laptops. They let us bring our books that we can read. And I would just be in there. I would be editing videos.
Getting over 300 million views on YouTube, competing in some of the most grueling challenges, to building his own obstacle course run by many celebrities, I got to sit down and talk to Austin Alexander on how he went from United States Navy sailor to becoming a fitness phenomenon, and how you can too.
I was 20 years old. I kind of looked at my life and I said, well, I'm cutting grass full time and I'm making pizzas part time. I really don't want to do that forever. And it had come to the point where I really needed to consider what I was doing. And I had been considering it for a while, but my parents started to go through a tough divorce. And I said, I need to become independent. What is the best option for me? I had previously stopped going to college. Absolutely hated it. And it's kind of in this mindset that was, society told me, well, if you don't have a good full-time job or if you don't get a degree, then you're not going to amount to anything. So I kind of stopped trying. And I was approached by a Marine Corps recruiter in the mall. And he's like, dude, you cut grass and you make pizzas. You're a loser. You should join the military. And of course, it got me thinking that I was not going to consider the Marine Corps, but thinking about joining the military. So that's when I went to the Navy recruiting office with a friend of mine named Taylor Austin. I looked at the dress wise. I was like, man, I want to wear those. And that's why I joined the Navy. That's pretty much the only reason. And as soon as I heard the spiel, I said, get me out of here, sign me up.
Now looking at you, you're pretty big into fitness. Were you big into fitness back then too? Or how'd you kind of get into fitness?
Would go in the gym and just do, bro workouts with my brother, curls, a little bit of shoulders, things like that. And I enjoyed it. But when I joined the Navy, I signed up to be a Navy diver. And now it was up to me to qualify in the physical screening test in order to complete and earn a contract for Navy diver. So I started doing all different types of fitness. I started going to CrossFit every morning at 06, and then I started to lift or do like a long endurance base, swim or run in the afternoon. So for 7 months, I think I depped in April 2013. For 7 months, I tried my hardest at gaining that contract and got my swim down to like a 8.5 minute swim, which was very fast. The very first time I swam it was a 12:27. Got my run down to I think it was somewhere in like even nines, 9:01, 9:02, something like that for a mile and a half. And yeah, I just spent 7 months working on my craft and working on getting better at the PST. As a Navy diver, I didn't pass the dive preparation in Great Lakes at Training Service Center. And so I re-rated to Master at Arms. And Master at Arms is, they're trained in weaponry. We train with the M9, M500, M4, M203, and lots of non-lethal weapons like Olaresin capsicum or OC spray, which sucks. Have you ever been OC sprayed?
No, I have not.
Try to avoid it. It's brutal. And, handcuffing, things like that. So I went into Master at Arms working in the Harbor Patrol unit. That's what I did in the Navy. I drove small boats with big machine guns.
And then looking back, how would you, share your experience of being a Master at Arms in the Navy? Or what's one struggle of the military that you kind of faced, and how did you get over it?
A struggle of the military that I constantly face is feeling lonely at sometimes. When you show up to a new command, you don't have a best friend there. You don't have people there that know you really well, and you are showing up there pretty much alone. I mean, even though you're in a room full of people, you feel alone, being constantly stripped away from the friends that you made at the previous command, and just showing up as a new person. That's a little struggle. It makes you a little uncomfortable and everything, but after a few weeks there, you'll learn to adapt and you'll make new friends. Yeah, just the fast-paced lifestyle and the constantly shifting and changing, that was a struggle that I dealt with, especially on going on deployment. I checked into a brand new command, VFA2, and I was taking on this aircraft carrier where I didn't really know, or I wasn't really good friends with anybody yet. But over time, over 7 months, I created some of the best friends that I've ever had in my entire life on that ship.
And what would you say the biggest takeaway from the military was for you? And if it was confidence, could you kind of go into that?
Yeah, it's being confident to lead people and having the confidence to know when you're making these big decisions, like what time do we show up? Should we do this? What boat do we have on the pier? What machine guns do we have on the boats? It instills a great level of confidence. And that's my number one takeaway from the military. And fortunately, I loved the water and I loved boats, so I got to do what I really enjoyed doing. It was a great 7 years.
And then, let's talk about your whole content creation. Why did you start making videos on YouTube? And, what was your, like, did you receive any flack for it in the Navy? Because, not everybody is really for, the whole YouTube or the social media thing in the military. So, why did you start with making YouTube videos or content in general?
I started because I'd always previously loved making videos. Like ever since I can remember, I picked up my mom's camera. I think when I was 7 or 8, it was an old school pre VHS camera, and I recorded on these little mini. I don't know if they're 8 tracks, but they're like little 30-minute tapes. I would make action figure videos. I would make videos just me and my friends dancing. And I loved it. I loved showing people and, getting a laugh out of them or whatever. And when I was in high school, I produced a show for the current events elective class. And that show got so big, they would air it every Friday throughout the high school. And people started approaching me and they were asking me, hey, can I get a copy of current events? And I started saying, yeah, for $10. So I started burning these DVDs and made, probably $400, $500 back then in 2010 to a 16 or 17-year-old. That was a lot of money, I've just thought it was the coolest thing being able to make money from something that I absolutely love doing. And that's where I got the hook, like the feeling. I was very fulfilled. I was making people laugh, making people's day better. When I joined the Navy, I kind of stopped that for a little bit just because I was adapting to Navy life. And in 2017, 2018, I was in a lot of debt. I just got to Seal Beach. I was in like $20,000 in credit card debt. And I was like, how did I get myself here? So I started looking into ways to earn additional revenue. I taught myself e-commerce, Amazon FBA, stock option traded, drop shipping, all these different things. And, I wasn't really passionate about them. But the one thing that I was passionate about was YouTube. So I said, I'm going to try this again, not even knowing that you could make money from YouTube. I started uploading again in August in 2018. And I started uploading consistently. And by the end of 2018, YouTube reached out to me and they said, hey, your videos have been getting some recognition. Do you want to start making money from these? And of course I said yes. And by the end of 2018, they sent me my first paycheck from Google. It was $31. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And yeah, that's how I started posting on YouTube. That's the whole progression of the video creating and my joy for it and me being able to stay consistent with it. 2018, 2019, 2020, I just kept uploading. I started earning more and more and more. I started getting more views and everything. And I was never really tied to a viewership, to a view, count on a video. It was very freeing because I didn't do it full time. I was like, well, this is just all extracurricular. When I got out in 2020, realizing, hey, this is my livelihood and this is my life now. So these videos have to perform. It was super stressful. January, February, March, April of 2021 were pretty rough. I had taken like $10,000 a month on in business expenses. And when the videos wouldn't perform, I was like, this is not good. Like I felt like my whole world was falling apart. And I mean, literally, it was my livelihood. I had to still pay rent. I still had to buy food, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle. So to any content creators out there that are looking to take this full time, make sure that you tiptoe. You don't just quit your job and say, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, because it takes a lot of time. I created 80 videos before I even got paid a dime from it. And if you factor in the math, let's just say it took 4 hours of film and 4 hours to edit. That's 8 hours per times 80 is what, 64. So if you're starting it for the money or the recognition or whatever, you're not going to succeed at all. You really got to love the process.
And then for, people considering the military or, in the military, what's some advice, for those that, for just to have a good career in the military that you would say?
You really have to be willing to pivot, because you're going to get curveballs thrown your way. You may be thinking, yeah, I'm going to join the Navy. I'm going to become a sailor. I'm going to get to sail the 7 seas. And I'm going to get to be stationed in these awesome places and these beaches and everything. It's not always like that. And to anybody joining the military, you're going to get thrown a curveball 1 or 2 times. But military also teaches you how to adapt very well. If you're joining the military, if you're in the military, just realize you're going to get thrown some curveballs. Just deal with them the best as you can and make the absolute best that you can out of it.
For sure. And then, your early days, you were challenging Marines and you're doing these combat obstacle courses with Marines and, other service branches. How did you kind of do all that while still being active duty?
Just planning. I knew my off days. I knew when I had duty and when I didn't have duty, and I would just execute. I would say, okay, so I have a 4-hour window on a Saturday. I have duty at 2, so I can go to Camp Pendleton at 9. We can film for 2 hours, and then I can go straight to duty. So it was just executing, rallying people, getting people to support what you were doing and they wanted to be involved, and just executing. And I didn't always have the most laid out plan, but we executed, and me edited accordingly. And that's how I did it. A lot of times, 4 hours, I would have downtime. They let us bring our personal laptops. They let us bring our books that we can read, check email, and I would just be in there. I would be editing videos and just made it happen.
How was the pivot to just like strictly military, or not military content, but strictly fitness content for you? Because one thing that I've noticed about military content creators, like once they get out, that's like, the military was their whole content creation life. Did you kind of slowly start to produce content that you knew you could make outside the military? Or like, could you kind of describe your pivot outside of the military?
Yeah, that was a big. I mean, I knew I could do it, but it was a big thing for me to kind of pivot and create videos that were sometimes not military affiliated at all. And you kind of have to just warm your audience up to it through, mentions or like, here's what I'm doing, and just give them updates and being very transparent. And so when I posted the video about me transitioning out of the military, I let people know, hey, there's not going to be any more. Well, there is, but I said there's not going to be any more videos of me in uniform, like doing these PT tests, on base and stuff like that. And I just chose the best route to continue, even though a lot of my content is still military. We do projects with the Army, Navy SEALs at the Buds Obstacle Course, like, because that's the environment that I love to be in. So it still works. And for any content creator that's going through a big transition in their life, there are ways to adapt, and don't be shy. Don't be scared to put something out there that's different. That's why I hate the term influencer. A lot of people say, look at me and they say, oh, he's an influencer. But behind the scenes, like, I'm a digital marketing and conversion and social media guy. Like, I know everything there is to know about click-through rates, SEM, SEO, organic keywords, paid media, organic media, search algorithms, social media algorithms, click-through rate, average view duration, average watch time. Everything there is to know, and a lot of companies value that. So like, even if I shut down all my social media pages right now, I do believe that I would bring extreme value to a company or a brand, working as a contractor or working as a host or a face or a personality or whatever it is.
And then, some people's transitions out of the military, I mean, you kind of said it yourself, it has been a struggle. So how have you kept this motivation to just keep, like a freaking machine, just keep creating and keep creating?
I think at the core of it is when I turned 25, I was like, dang, I'm getting old. I'm getting older, and this life is not going to last forever. It's very limited. We have very limited time on this earth. I will do my damnedest to live a fulfilled life. It doesn't matter how many times I've failed. I've tried so many different things. Tried The Business Gentleman, tried Architecture, tried Captain's Cup Coffee on Shopify, tried Amazon FBA, tried before Battle Bunker it was Branch Battles, USS Battle Series, Battle Factory. Like, I've tried a lot of things. And being able to be okay with failing and just using it as a learning opportunity is something that's very, very valuable. And so that's the way I think about it. Like, now that I'm 31, it makes me want to drive even harder. Like, hey, I'm 31, and in 8 years I'm going to be 40. So yeah, that's the way I think about it.
Do you have any ways or ideas of how somebody can kind of, maybe get a mentor or just be able to develop this positive mindset or this driven mindset?
Yeah, I think every person should know where they want to go and what they want to do. A lot of people don't know what they want to do. A lot of people haven't been exposed or don't have the experience to know exactly what they want to do. So in the meantime, I would say, try as many things as you can. Try fitness, try snowboarding, try fishing, really finding and locking on or become obsessed with finding what you want to do and what you want to do for the rest of your life.
And then I would also say, if there was anything you could do different, what would it have been?
To start trying at an earlier age. I started really trying at life when I was 25. I would try to find a way to start earlier and to start bettering myself, whether it's through reading or learning or leading. I would really encourage myself to start earlier. If I started when I was 21, there's no telling where I'd be right now.
You've met, and then your videos yourself, you mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad, freaking all these books that I'm currently reading. I just finished Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So it's like, holy crap. So like, kind of go into like, what have been some of the instrumental self-development, that you've kind of put yourself through that's kind of benefited your life a lot?
So yeah, reading those books, like I'm like a sponge. Like I said earlier, I don't take away everything from those books, but there are a few key things that I have taken away and involved in my life. Like, one is like through How to Win Friends and Influence People. One is just eye contact, like the confidence to have eye contact with someone, whether it's you're chatting with a potential partner that you're interested in, or whether chatting with potential business opportunity, body language, confidence, like it all goes a long, long way. And for someone who's not in the business realm, like even going into a job interview, those are, little things that I've picked up that have made me successful. And I think my camera presence now is from confidence. I can look into the camera.
And how would you say, is this kind of what you expected, transitioning out your freedom?
Yeah, I do not take it for granted every single day. Every time I'm walking with Louie, I'm like, man, this is nice. I got nobody calling me and yelling at me to show up to PT. I'm a free man. I can do whatever I want.
So do you have like any financial advice for service members? Some things that you learned along the way?
Yeah, it's live below your means. You've probably heard that, and they've probably heard that a ton, but it's true. Don't be spending money that you do not have. I do not recommend taking out multiple credit cards, although one can be beneficial. Don't get trigger happy and go into all these ports and say, I don't care about my financials. I'm just gonna, it sucks to be on a ship or it sucks to be on deployment. When I get back, I'm just gonna blow a lot of money on hotels and alcohol and whatnot. Don't do that. That's what I did. I would go into ports. I would get the fanciest hotels, and I would just be like, I just want a great experience. And I would eat good. I would buy a lot of alcohol, and I would spend way too much money. So there is a book called Profit First that I will recommend. There's two books actually. One is Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, and two is Profit First. I won't get into the details about what the book says. Just go read the book, and it will make so much sense about what he's saying.
So could you kind of go into, some of the struggles, not struggles per se, but like some of the things that you weren't really expecting in your transition, and like how would you, having gone through that, what would you have done differently before you transitioned out?
I don't know if there's anything that can really prepare you for the outside world. I'm not saying it's a bad place by any means. It's just different. One of the things that I didn't expect was the feeling of loneliness. Establish a great support system, which I had. I had my girlfriend at the time. I had Ivan, my videographers. I had my cousin. Feeling like you're in an environment where you belong is going to help a ton. So make sure you have friends that understand you. Make sure you put yourself in an environment, whether it's through a book or a video. That's why I put my video out. Put yourself in an environment that feels familiar.
Do you have any advice for, potential content creators, potential service members, current service members, veterans, just any closing comments?
Two things. One, do not be scared to try something new, and do not overanalyze your content. As a creator, you are the most critical about your content. I see creators all the time like worrying about where a light's supposed to be placed for 6 days, and it holds them back from creating. Don't let that slow you down. Just create. That is your ultimate goal, is to create. Don't be scared to post new things. And number two is, do not try to take it full time when you do not have the financial capacity to do it. That is the quickest way to turn yourself off of creating. Yeah, that's my advice.